Okay, thank you everyone for joining us for the post-match press conference after the Combat Matildas took on Canada here at Marbella in Spain. As always, we have head coach Tony Gustafson. Tony, we'll get started. How do you assess that performance?
Yeah, I'll do buckets. So I'm just going to prep off.
On mute, please. Tony, how would you assess that performance tonight?
Well, but first, talking about the performance, I think it's important that we put it in a perspective. We have planned for a very, very long time what we want to do in this pre-camp to make sure that we peak physically, mentally on the 25th in the opening game against Germany. It's all about that opening game. We have purposefully trained very hard, so we knew we were going to go into this game with fatigue. I'm very appreciative of the dialogue we had with Canada about this game, with unlimited subs and such, so that we can use this game in a little bit of a different way in preparation than you normally do in a FIFA window. As you saw, we rotated through the roster, which was purposeful as well. We had live GPS to look at targeted numbers that we want to have on some players, and we wanted to prepare to play with heavy legs, where it's difficult to focus. You might not have the power in the runs. We're always an aggressive team that play with high octane and energy. But in an Olympic tournament, when it's such tight turnaround with games, you know you're going to have to play with fatigue at times, and to learn how to play with fatigue was also part of this game. And then finally, when it comes to evaluating the performance, is also evaluation of players. We wanted to test a lot of players today and give them minutes, because we're going to need them all come Olympics. And the final thing is we were using precaution here to protect some players. So we had Steph Catley, Meeks and Torpy unavailable for that reason. And then Caitlin felt something in the warm-up and we said, let's play it safe. So 4 players unavailable. And then when we rotate, I mean, we're down to player 20 in terms of outfield players and numbers, even using Vinnie Heatley here, who's not even in the Olympic roster, but she's here to help out with numbers, and it was perfect for her to get some minutes as well. And the final answer to that, when I evaluate the performance, is some individual players. I think Claire Wheeler was outstanding. She's been phenomenal in training the whole camp. Amazing how she looked energized for 90 minutes. Very, very impressive. I also think Sean Fryer maybe had a little bit of her breakthrough game for the Matildas. Not just the goal, but the way she plays as well, and how brave and confident she was. Everything from pressing to tackles to take on 1v1, and you could even hear the teammates and even the teammates in the stands how much they cheer for her and how much joy and happiness it was for her performance. So those were 2 standouts, I think, individual performance as well.
As always, please use the raise your hand function. I'll come to you. We'll start with Vince Rigari and followed by Jolly Lynch.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Morning or evening over there. Tony, is there anything more you can tell us about Caitlin? And just on the back of that, are you a little bit concerned that you've got a few players in the squad who are presumably not at the perfect spot in terms of physical, just like a couple more injury clouds than you probably like at the moment?
Yeah, I think, Vince, you know how it is as a coach, right? You always want to have all your players fit and in form and flying. And sometimes it's a challenge when they go into a tournament where some players come from heavy load in the season. Some players have been out of season for a long time. Some players are coming back from injury. Some players are coming into camp with some niggles. So, of course, that's always, as a coach, you would like every single player being fit and in form and flying. But I've also been around long enough to know that the only thing we can focus on is what we can control. In the pre-camp in the World Cup, for example, we had more than 6 players coming in with niggles or injuries that couldn't even train with us in the beginning of that camp. And then once the tournament started, we got them up and running and be fit and in form and could perform really well. So we've been there before, but I also have a very good trust to my SSM team, the sports medicine and sports science, to work individually with the players. I hope and think that we have already come with a statement with Caitlin in terms of what it is, and that's up to the doctor and the SSM team to talk about. I actually haven't had time to sit down and talk to them yet. The only thing I was told before the game started was that she felt something in the warm-up. They wanted to pull her, and I haven't actually talked to them anymore. But after that, I just needed to focus on the players that could play.
Joey Lynch.
Cool. Thanks for jumping on, Tony. I guess first, obviously a number of players had some ice and strapping after they were subbed off, but I'm just guessing that's precautionary. And also, I guess, obviously Canada had a lot of shots, but generally, would you be happy with the way that you were denying them clear goal-scoring opportunities? Obviously, their opener came off an error that you don't imagine will be repeated come the games.
Yeah, this is interesting, Joey, because it's always like when you get that amount of shots at you, like we did in the first half, you go like, oh, that's a lot of chances. Like why is this happening? And then I watch some of the chances now afterwards, and there's a lot of shots outside of the box. Obviously, if they have a really good hit, that could be a goal. But normally, if you look at XG, it's not too dangerous with shots outside of the top of the D. So in that sense, I'm not too worried about those chances. I do think we conceded too many chances in the set plays, and I think I'll take a little bit of ownership on that because we've been training really, really hard over these 2 weeks, so we haven't prioritized those tactical details on set plays, for example, that you normally do when you get close into the tournament. So that could be one of the reasons why we got a couple of chances on us on set plays. And then 2 individual errors in the goal zone, one from a goalkeeper and one from the back line. Obviously, those are things that is good to get now so that we can clean those out. But I also think that could be connected to a little bit of fatigue. And that's a learning curve from us as well, knowing how can we stay focused and avoid making those mistakes that can cost us in the Olympics. I think on the other hand, I might be a little bit more worried that we don't create more, because I don't think we created enough. We normally create a lot of chances when we play, and I don't think we did that tonight. I think we had some really good build-up sequences when we got into the final third, but then the action or breaking that last line, I think we normally see us being better at that. Is that connecting to fatigue? Is it the final pass? Is it lack of runs in behind? I want to create more. I want to attack. So I don't think we created enough tonight.
Got time for 2 more questions? Okay, Sam Lewis.
Thanks, Tony. Outside of just testing players, I suppose, can you talk to some of the other things that you were rehearsing in this game, particularly in terms of tactics and structure?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. It might be too long of an answer if I'm going to go through all the scenarios that we did train, but we knew we had only 1 game before the Olympics, and we looked at this game as preparing for all 3 group stage games. So we've done a lot of video looking at some similarities between Canada and some of the group stage teams. We'll look at some defending things and some attacking things. I think you all saw that we used 3 to 4 different shapes tonight, both attacking and defending. So we looked at that flexibility and when can we use those different tactics against different opposition. That was one thing, meaning formation change and personnel change. But then we looked at some individual players as well to look at what does it look like when we have a speedy 9 together with Mary, for example, that can open space so she can link in the space in front. And I think we had a couple of very, very good sequences with Vine and Mary linking up and creating that dynamic duo up front. So that was one thing we wanted to look at. Another thing was Claire Wheeler. How multifunctional can she be for us? She's been phenomenal in training, one of the best players performance-wise. She's really in form. And we know we have a question mark where Minnie is going to be come the tournament starts. She's been away for many, many months in terms of game time. How many minutes can she back up? We need depth in the midfield. But also she's played outside back for Everton before. She's played outside back for us before, but on the right side. And now with Steph out, Meeks out, Torpe out, that all 3 could potentially be options as an outside back. We wanted to look at it playmaking outside back. Charlotte Grant can obviously play that. We know what she can do, but we wanted to test the playmaking outside back. And then in the second half, you saw a lot of game management. We looked at a 5-4-1 to close out a game. We looked at a 5-2-3. We looked at a rotation 4-4-2 that was lopsided. There's a lot of terminology here now, but so it was a lot, like formation things, player profile in different positions. And then the other thing, can we play out against an aggressive, well-organized team? And I think a lot of times today we played straight into pressure, and teams can hurt us when we do that. But the one thing we did better today than we done against Canada before was to deny their speedy forwards to get in behind our back line. Because we've struggled with that before. I mean, Germany is good at that, Zambia is brilliant at that, and US have a lot of pace. And that's one thing I'm happy with today, how we denied the fast forwards getting in behind our back line.